Continuing from the adaptations to life at different conditions, we have this diagram that is from Michael Roberts, figure 18.10, page 3, page 312. That is the countercurrent heat exchange system in a limb. It shows how the artery and vein run parallel with each other, and at each level there is heat that is being transferred from the artery to the vein, so that by the time the venous blood leaves the limb, it is almost as warm as the arterial blood. And in some cases, the veins may be wrapped around the arteries in a most intimate way. So that is it. They are running in opposite directions, as this one is entering, this one is leaving. And the blood that is coming through the artery is warm, hence it is being transferred. Hence heat is being transferred from the artery to the vein at each level across. So that is the countercurrent heat exchange multiplier or system. There is a question here. Two mammals were exposed to varying air temperatures, and each time the temperatures were varied. Various metabolic rates were determined, and the results of the findings were tabulated. We have environmental temperature in degrees Celsius, and then we have the relative metabolic rate. Now, kindly draw this graph, plot suitable graphs to show these relationships, and describe each of the graphs that you plotted. Explain the observed patterns of the relationships, and why did the temperature fail to determine the relative metabolic rate of mammal B for temperatures above 50 degrees Celsius and below 5 degrees Celsius. Assuming these guys have a close evolutionary relationship, distinguish between their relative sizes and show how they are related to the survival strategies in different environmental conditions. That is the question. You do it, and then we look at the responses. Now, that was temperature regulation in endotherms. Now we have temperature regulation in ectotherms, which we say it is mainly achieved through modification of behavior of the animal, which may include the following. Some of these guys bask in the sun at varying angles relative to the sun's rays so as to gain heat, e.g. the lizards and the crocodiles. When we were growing, they would be telling us that this sunshine, you will find a lot of snakes in the bush, so you shouldn't go there. And why would they be in the bush, or why would you find them on those stones? They would be looking for ways of gaining heat. So they would be basking in the sun such that they can gain some heat. Those, the lizards and the crocodiles. When you have ever visited Kazinga Channel, then you would have seen a crocodile. Those guys, they come out of water and they are also trying to gain some heat from the sun. Some of them, they hide in burrows, that is when they are carrying out hibernation, or holes or crevices in rocks away from sunlight, which reduces the temperature, e.g. the lizards. Some of them carry out panting and expose the moist tissues of the mouth by licking the body surface or by swallowing in water. An animal can increase evaporation and so heat loss from the body. So some of these guys, they carry out panting. They expose the moist tissues of the mouth. That is, they expose the tongue. They put it out and expose the moist tissues of the mouth by licking the body surface and by swallowing in water. An animal is able to increase evaporation and so there is heat loss from the body. Some of them carry out what we call thermogapping, that is opening the mouth, which enables evaporation of moisture from the buccal cavity to cool blood, e.g. the alligators. Some of them carry out thermodancing when it is hot, that is lifting of moments. They carry out thermodancing, that is when it is very hot. That is lifting of the opposite pairs of feet alternately so they can cool them in air. So as they are dancing, the way you be dancing, they are lifting their feet, opposite pairs of the feet alternately, which will allow cooling in air. We have salivation over the neck and legs in tortoises, which will increase loss of heat as a result of water evaporation from such surfaces. Those are some of the ways that are so specific to the ectotherms, and you cannot find them in the endotherms. We have the role of the brain in temperature regulation, and within the brain, we have the thermoregulatory center, which is the hypothalamus. Is the one that is responsible for temperature regulation in the body. And in the previous video, we looked at the roles it performs or the way it brings about response if there is an increase in heat. That is, if the temperature of blood flowing through the hypothalamus rises, then the heat loss center is stimulated to send impulses to the skin, which will cause vasodilation to enable more heat loss at the skin surface. There will be increased sweat production, enable more evaporation. We shall have relaxation of the erectopili muscles, lower the hairs to avoid air insulation, and also inhibit shivering to minimize heat production by metabolic reactions. And once all this takes place, then you enable lowering the temperature to norm. And if the temperature is low or it drops as blood is flowing through the hypothalamus, then we stimulate, or there is stimulation of the heat gain center, which will bring about the mechanisms that will bring about lowering the body temperature, such as reducing sweat production, vasoconstriction increasing, contraction of the erectopili muscle and shivering, and then there is also rising the metabolic rate. so as you are able to generate heat. So that is how it takes place. That is the hypothalamus, which is the control center for temperature within the brain. We also have temperature control in plants. That is, plants lose and gain heat by the same physical processes as animals. They do not change. The processes by which the plants lose and gain heat, they are the same. That is through radiation, evaporation, conduction, and convection. So we have some of the plant tissues that can tolerate wide fluctuations in temperature, and they are adapted to live in a variety of habitats. But still, they must regulate the temperature to avoid overheating, which would nature enzymes, and freezing of tissues, which would slow down the metabolic processes. One of the ways through which these guys avoid overheating is by transpiration. That is, as water evaporates into the atmosphere, plants cool down. Wilting, that is, parenchyma cells lose turgidity and drop to reduce the surface area of leaves and stems exposed to the sun, hence avoiding much heat gain. They also possess the shiny cuticles on the leaves to reflect heat. Once this heat is reflected, then it is not absorbed. So they are able to avoid overheating through reflecting the sun's radiations. We also have these guys possessing the small needle-like leaves in some plants, which will reduce excessive heat gain from the sun's rays. Ways through which these guys avoid overcooling is by producing spores or seeds which are very temperature resistant. That is one way through which these guys can avoid overcooling. Then we also have them losing the easily damaged leaves when external temperature is low. That is during winter, such that they do not lose water, and as a result of losing water, then they are losing heat from their bodies. So they are able to maintain the heat within their bodies by reducing the surface area to heat loss. We have them orienting leaves to take maximum advantage of light at any time, so they do not shade each other. That is orientation, or you can look at the leaf arrangement, the alternating pattern, the mosaic leaf arrangement pattern, so that they can take maximum advantage of light and no leaf can cover the other one to provide the shade, hence it wouldn't take up it from the surroundings. That is temperature control in plants and temperature regulation as a whole, both in plants and animals. So we covered the homeostatic control systems, that is the control of glucose concentrations. We looked at the liver, the specific functions of the liver. We looked at the kidneys and the roles that are performed by the kidneys in osmoregulation, excretion, and homeostasis. We looked at the controlling body temperature in humans. Those are the endotherms. Then now we have looked at the plants. And then looking at the roles of the kidneys, we are able to cover up osmoregulation and excretion. So now, look for questions. Allow yourself to get exposed as very many questions as possible. about homeostasis, about osmoregulation and excretion. As our theme goes, we must better our best. That is for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Kindly follow us up on YouTube. Our channel is there. The videos are there. So follow us, and then we shall get to where we have to be. Thank you for today.